Yeah, so let's do this. Great party yesterday, right? I'm so impressed so many people are here. That's good. Okay. Welcome to the talk about how to make browsers compatible to the web. I'm Ola. You saw me before. I do stuff at Mozilla, mostly open source. I'm a Vac Compat engineer. I'm a tech lead. As you said, I do a lot of community stuff, so Open Tech School, various conferences, way too many. So you all of you are basically here because you all want to fix the web, right? And I would say thank you for that, because that's amazing. Thank you for helping. So what it's about, this Vac Compatibility thing, it took me like a month to pronounce that word correctly, so it's totally OK if you can't. Ever experienced a website that is basically broken in just one browser, but not like in others? A Vac Compat bug is when something works in one, it doesn't work in one, sometimes not two. So because you're probably not there yet, not fully awake, let's do a fun game. So tell me, please, by raising your hand, 3 questions. First one, who of you ever experienced such a bug? Please raise your hands. Yeah, a lot of you. OK. Who of you ever reported that bug? OK. Thank you for doing that. And the most important question, who of you ever wrote a really dirty hack for that? Right? So please report them so we can fix them, actually. But if it makes you feel better, you're not alone. So I ran a totally representative poll on Twitter, close to 400 votes, and 79% of those who voted do not report bugs. And from our experience, it's like way more. So why is that? A lot of people think it's just too much hassle or have actually no idea how and where to report them. I get that. Before I started to work on that project, I didn't know either. The Vac Compatibility project is an open source project that makes sure specs are implemented in the correct way in all browsers. Report a broken website or a reoccurring bug to wcompats.com so we can help fix the issue on the browser vendor side. And it's just not just Firefox, it's like all the browsers. And it literally takes 2 minutes. I'm not kidding. So the other issue is people think that no one cares. We do. We actually do, and we're really good at annoying people. Trust me on that one. So yeah, I'm curious, you know, so I ran a second poll. How will people know specs from their preferred language, right? And people seem to be like really confident, which is awesome. So I don't know, let's test that. Quiz time. I picked something really easy for you. Like a CSS question, because we all know CSS is super easy, right? Everyone can do that. So let's do it. Please tell me in a moment, by raising your hand, which of the 4 following works in Firefox, Edge, and Chrome? I mean, that's easy. So WebKit transform with a big W, prefix, and just transform. So who of you thinks that the first one is correct and it works in the browsers? 3, 4 hands. OK. The second one. OK. The third one, the prefixed one. And the last one. It's quite obvious, right? So surprise! They all work. Sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. Of course, a Twitter poll is my bubble. It's nothing representative, right? From our experience, those results, well, they're like more like this. So people often know like frameworks by heart, which totally makes sense. You shouldn't build a town when you just need a house. Don't reinvent the wheel over and over again. When the issue is solved, it's solved. Don't solve it again. But you should be aware of how things actually work, and not just how, but actually why. And I totally get it. With all the frameworks around, like every day, new one is coming out, it's really hard to keep up. Our day still has like just 24 hours, 7 days per week. And there are moments I really, really miss those times where you didn't need like a 4-hour setup with, I don't know, Run, NPM, Webpack, Travis, CSS modules, Babel, and so on, just to fix a typo. Or 20 minutes NPM install. Yay. A long time ago, we actually didn't have that hassle. We just opened an editor and started coding. Can you believe that? We pushed code on the server, or we just opened the browser and just worked. Well, we also had like different methods to fight, right? Some of you might remember when you're as old as I am. I'm way older than I look. The browser wars. So a browser war defines as competition for dominance in the usage share of web browsers. So let's go back and see how it all began. It all began with Sir Tim Berners-Lee, who all of you might know. So he invented in the 1980s, like in the end of it, this thing called the web. He didn't invent the internet. He also invented the very first browser called World Wide Web, which was changed to Nexus for very obvious reasons. By the end of 1992, other browsers appeared, like Lime web browser, OI, Samba. We all remember them, right? Even though these browsers tended to be really simple HTML document viewers that relied on an external helper application to view like multimedia content, they already provided a choice for users. That was the point when the pre-war started. Mosaic was the web browser that actually led to the internet boom of the 1990s. In 1993, it made the web relevant and touched off like a whole revolution. More browsers appeared like Cello, Arena, Linux, but there was nothing like Mosaic. By 1994, Mosaic was on its way to become the world standard interface. And that was said by Gary Wolf from Wired in October 1994, and he definitely knows what he's talking about. So Mosaic was the very first true multi-platform usage, and that was a huge thing back then, like multi-platform. Something that is kind of hard to believe these days, right? Several companies licensed Mosaic and started like commercial browsers like Air Mosaic, Spyglass Mosaic. One of the Mosaic developers, Mark Andreessen, created a new web browser named Mosaic Netscape. They had to rename to Netscape Navigator after legal issues. By beginning of 1995, Netscape Navigator was the dominant browser of the World Wide Web because of two reasons. First, it improved Mosaic's usability and reliability and was able to, wait for it, was able to display pages as they loaded. And it was free for non-commercial use, but it was free. And you will be like, how can a browser not be free? Netscape also faced like new competition at some point, like web browser, Omni browser, Internet Explorer 1, but they continued to dominate the market. But that was actually the beginning of the very first browser wars. So users suddenly had a choice again, right? There were two usable multi-platform browsers that were free. And the war began. The battle for market share was rough. Browser vendors added features and support as they go for various specs. So IA2 was released shortly after 1. It was free, not just for non-commercial, but also for commercial use. And that was a huge game changer. So suddenly everyone used that. Other browsers followed and made their approach and made software actually free. New versions were released rapidly. Browsers were just document viewers, right? Just could interpret HTML documents. Netscape released JavaScript support in 1995, which Microsoft replicated and called JScript. They also both released more proprietary HTML tags, like Blink. And our most favorite one, Marquee. In 1996, IE3 and Netscape reached feature parity, and they added CSS support. That was just in 1 year. That's huge for browser vendors. Also, Opera came out that year, but it wasn't like the same feature parity, so not many people actually noticed. In October 1997, IE4 was released and distributed with Windows 95. And that was big. That was huge because the software was already there, so people just used it. And, well, things got really personal back then. The IE4 release party in San Francisco had like a 10-foot-tall E-letter. So the IE team just took that and put that on the front lawn of Netscape with a lovely sign attached from the IE team with love. Netscape employees promptly knocked that over, put the giant figure of the old Mozilla dinosaur mascot on top of it, and just slapped on a sign saying Netscape 72, and it had a Microsoft 18 representing the current market distribution. So IE started with 18% market share in 1997, became the new dominant browser with a peak of 96% during 2002. So first browser war ended with IE having actually no serious competition for its market share. New browsers came out, and IE got competition again. So second round was about to start. Second browser war continued with the decline of IE share 2003, increasing popularity of browsers like Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Opera. So Opera 4 released in 2000, included new cross-platform core. That was huge. IE6 released 2001, gave it a boost that needed to climb to 96%. Safari released 2003. Mobile version included in iOS devices 2007. So at the start of Navigator's decline, Netscape open sourced the browser code, and it's actually a really great story. I don't have time to tell, but just look it up. And later entrusted to the newly formed nonprofit Mozilla Foundation, primary community-driven project to create like a successor to Netscape. So Firefox 1 was released 2004. And kind of late to the game, Google released Chrome in 2008. As the first browser war was all about usability, multi-platform usage, and being free for everyone, the second browser war was all about focus on developers, actually. It was all about performance, browser engines, and usability for developers. Don't get me wrong, Firebug was amazing, right? I grew up with it, but it kind of killed the performance at some point and got unusable. Chrome DevTools made a massive impact on the community and the market share. Also, beginning of 2012, Chrome launched Chrome for Android 4. First stable version of the browser was released mid-2012. That was actually the turning point, as you can see here, for Chrome and IE and the market share. So again, pairing a browser with an operating system, here Android and Chrome, decided the war. One thing we've learned during the browser wars is that things didn't get better. They got just like way worse. And not just the incompatibility, like all across the browsers. And I know that marketing loves just to paint browser vendors as like wrestling in the mud and just fighting all the time. Well, actually not. So we all, vendors, developers, users, we work together as one. And we've realized at some point we're way stronger as a unit than we're separated. And, well, war is never a good thing to strive for, right? So as browsers started to use the same browser engines, things seemed to get better. But the API is still, or let's call it different. Why was that? So let me tell you a secret. Come closer. I'll tell you a secret. You know what the true force is? Like every browser has in common? It's the specs. Wow, right? So specifications, or specs in short, are a defined standard for what to implement in a browser. Who creates the specs? Who is the creator of the force? October 1994, Sir Tim Berners-Lee founded the World Wide Web Consortium, also called the W3C. The organization wants to just foster and tries to get all those vendors to implement like standards, core principles, and components, which are chosen by the consortium. So in short, they decide actually on specifications that browsers should implement. There were issues. The W3C was kind of slow in developing standards. There were actually so many that didn't have the resources at that time, and I totally understand, because you have to make it right. As browser vendors wanted to release features really rapidly because of browser wars, right? They often didn't have like finished specs, if they had any, right? This caused a lot of incompatibility among browsers. Also, the W3C decision to actually abandon HTML for XML-based technologies was a huge issue. And I don't know, it didn't seem close to what developers and users wanted. So that was the point where the Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group, or WATWG, was formed in June 2004 by individuals from Apple, from Microsoft, no, not Microsoft actually, Mozilla and Opera. They work on spec drafts and propose them to the W3C. So they're like, OK, cool. We accept them. We take them as a base of our work because you know what to do. And the WATWG was like, the editors has actually like a huge, significant control over the specs, but the community has a big influence on decisions of them. Because of the big advantage of having like very direct feedback of users and developers, this working group also solved a different issue. So the W3C describes in the specs actually what to implement, but not how. You might remember, and if not, just look it up, the history of IndexedDB. And that was a huge drama, like over years. That was ridiculous at some point. This working group was actually able to agree because they knew how browsers work, they talked, and they shared knowledge. So they knew what would be the best implementation for everything and how, and decided on a standard. So does this mean you can be a part of creating the force? Yeah, you can. You can become a member of the W3C by applying, and hopefully you get a membership that will be accepted. Or you can join the WATWG mailing list, because we all love mailing lists. Or it's really easy and simple, and you just contribute on GitHub. It's actually that simple. Give direct feedback or just participate in discussions. They actually listen. So you might be still skeptical and be like, why should I care? Why? I want the world to leave me alone. I just want to build apps. So remember this fun cross-browser question from before, where everything was weird and made you feel uncomfortable? Quiz time! Again! So browsers are super weird. I get that. I mean, but specs are specs, right? OK. So let's take a look and see what the original W3C CSS object model drop spec has. So which one is correct? I mean, obviously number 4, right? Of course. Does any one of you think 1, 2, 3 is correct? Please raise your hand. Any of them? Oh, very few. OK. I mean, clearly not, right? Surprise. Let me tell you a fun story why this happened. So Apple really wanted to have that feature. So they wrote the spec, obviously. Well, they got to decide how it should actually look like. And this is why you should care. It's important that not just one company or small working groups work on the specifications. It's you, it's your voice. You actually matter. You should participate. Because if you all knew about this before and would have participated, maybe that would have never happened, actually. So what are specs? You think about specification, just think about it as a set of rules. It's actually nothing else. A set of rules everyone just agrees on. And it's helpful, like this fellow here. And the programming is a really hard profession already, right? When everyone just follows the specs, it makes our lives easier. You will understand code from others and weird behavior way faster. You save time, money. Probably your frustration level is low. And this is not just about us developers like of application and sites. It's also about developers who build frameworks, infrastructure, tools, and also about vendors. They have to be like, okay with a set of rules. And it's a little bit like, I don't know, like this set of rules, this agreement is kind of our code of conduct for code. So how can you produce clean code? Which tools are there that can we use? First, being aware of specs, huge help, right? Where do you find specs? You can read the specs on W3C page. Got way better to read like 10 years ago. I used to do that. I'm weird, I know. But you can also just go to MDN, which is a really good resource for like pre-chewed content with examples, with code pens you can play around with, a lot of specification, also a link to the very deep specifications you can just dive deep in. Compatibility table, including side notes about fun, weird behavior of specific browsers. So, okay, but what when you're aware of the specs? You just want to check the compatibility because who remembers that? What I don't. You can go to caniuse.com. There's a great overview of browser support for specs. And again, weird but fun, let's say, surprising features in browsers. You see the side notes. There's even a fun CLI tool around for that, because we can get this information in an automated way. You can write a decent wrapper with curl and other tools, so imagine all the possibilities. Maybe you also just want to have a linter, because looking things up all the time, annoying. ESLint Compat plugin is your tool. It's open source. It works with most editors, and it's so nice. It's all there. So remember that question from before? There won't be a third quiz time. Sorry, don't worry. So prefixed seemed like a really cool idea to introduce like new features. So every browser could implement a feature without relying on the others. They didn't need to wait. So it turned out prefixes version are not production ready. Browser vendors, they got that message. So they walking away from the prefixes actually and walking towards flags in your browser. So you can just enable a specific feature that is already available in your browser you can play around with, start developing and learn about a specific feature that is stable and compatible at some point, but you actually know how to deal with it and have fun with it. Yeah, I know. I know all of you like, wait, of course, it's compatibility, so it's PWA, right? I'm kind of tired of PWAs because it feels like no one actually has the same definition of PWAs. Everyone has their own, so just fill in something here. The only thing you actually need to know is please make sure you're backwards compatible. So if you use specs, use the stable ones. Experimental, just use a polyfill or a ponyfill. And please make others aware not to use deprecated browsers anymore. They're being dropped for a reason, so that would be great. Write tests and test your sites. Browser Stack as well as Source Labs are a great way to go and automate your testing for various browsers and operation systems. Write tests for APIs, so you know they won't break. That's great. And also, you can test locally with Selenium Server, and if you haven't done that, you know, it's so much fun to install that and run it. You can just use WebDriver.io. It's open source, test Unity for Node.js, takes away a lot of pain. Plus, there's a way to test your site in a visual way. It's called visual regression testing. So there's a headless browser behind that. It basically, you say which version of browsers and operating systems you want. It takes screenshots, saves them in a folder, and you can just look through. If you don't want to do that manually, you can automate that, so they like overlay and let you know if there's a difference of a specific percentage. OK, with all those tools, you're set to produce clean code. This is probably like the biggest thing on the web, writing good code. If you feel this is still not enough, there's one last thing you could actually do. You, all of you, you can become a wompat. I'm a wompat. I like wompats. There are many of us out there. You might not see us, but we're there. We're fighting the fight. We're fixing the web. But what do wompats do? How can you even become a wompat? So, OK. Focus. Breathe. Listen to this little voice deep inside of you. Feel the force. Feel what you would like to contribute to. Open the web browser and go to wcompats.com. With reporting bugs, you're already helping so much, but you can, if you have spare time, help and triage issues and submit fixes. And that's great, because I haven't learned more anywhere else in my whole life in such a short time by actually doing it. It's so much fun. It's like a scavenger hunt. You can also just reach out to sites and just suggest the fix, or just help and work on the specs. You can help build Vac Compatibility tools. We have actually a lot. Either you just grab one of the starter issues, ping us, check the repositories, jump in the discussion. If you have an idea, let us know. That's awesome. We're happy to help. And it's actually a really, really amazing community. Very kind-hearted, very lovely, extremely helpful. This is why I'm there, actually. I've been in a lot of communities, open source communities, and most were shit. That one's good. So join us on RC, mailing list, whatever you like. Spread the word. And the most important thing, talk to your friends about Vac Compatibility. Let them know what it's important, so we can fix the web together. So this is you. My daughter made me to put that in the slide. The time is up. Wow, it was fast. I hope you had fun. And there will be lunch soon. Yay! If you have questions, I'm around. Reach out otherwise by Twitter. Handles below. And remember, together we can fix the World Wide Web and destroy the Death Star, finally. Thank you.